Hey everyone, I'm Stephanie, host and head bookologist here at the Get Literate podcast. I'm a book loving, notebook hoarding reader and writer on a mission to change lives one book and one notebook at a time. On this podcast, we explore the power of bookology. What's that? That's the study of books and reading and notebooks and writing mixed with mindful practices and creativity to create lives we love. Here, you'll find episodes exploring the reading and writing life and how they can make our actual lives better. You'll get book recommendations and notebooking prompts around particular themes, and you'll even hear from authors and special guests who can fuel our reading and writing hearts and help us take inspired action in our own daily practices. So, grab a notebook and your TBR list, and let's get literate. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Get Literate podcast. I'm Stephanie, and I can't wait to share today's episode with you. It has been an episode in the making, and it is a celebration of sorts because it brings together three areas of my life that I have loved separately that I am now learning to combine: reading, writing, and yoga. Now, while I've been reading and writing my entire life, yoga has definitely been a newer thing for me. I've always admired people who did yoga, who found the time to do yoga, who did it consistently. But honestly, it wasn't until I was looking for an answer to some chronic pain where I truly embraced yoga on a daily basis for me. It was 2020. We all remember 2020. It was 2020, and I was participating in my first 30-day yoga challenge with Yoga with Adriene, which I know many of you in this community know and love. And that was my first taste of a regular yoga practice over 2020. And I admit I was hooked pretty quickly. I came to yoga as a purely physical practice. I needed to move my body in new ways. I needed to stretch. I wanted to have those long, lean muscles. I wanted to have a better posture, especially as I was sitting and sitting and sitting in front of the Zoom screen over COVID. It definitely was something, yoga was something that I thought was mainly a physical practice. Now, over time, I started to need modifications in order to do that same kind of yoga I loved. I especially have a difficult time with my wrists and my hands and my elbows. And if you do yoga, you know that a lot of poses are on your wrists and your hands and your elbows. And so I was looking for modifications. I was looking for ways to be able to keep my yoga practice going while still dealing with the changing pain and just kind of the changing physicality of my joints. And so I actually went to a local yoga studio. If you are in my area, then you might know Grounded on Glen and Kayla, who was wonderful. And I went to her for a one-to-one session to explain what I was working with and to ask for help in safely modifying the poses so that I could still get out of yoga what I wanted to get out of it, but I could do it without hurting. And I could do it without causing my joints and kind of the ligaments surrounding them any other damage. But what she said there set me on a whole new path because she didn't give me modifications. She gave me an opening to a whole nother aspect of yoga I didn't consider. And I'm not going to say the same exact words she said to me. I don't remember them exactly, but the essence of them was this: why don't you stop trying to modify your body to get into the poses and modify the poses to fit the body you have? And I thought, well, wait, what? That's what I'm supposed to do? No, I'm supposed to just push through and do all the things. And it was a wonderful wake-up call to the fact that yoga is not just the Americanized physical version of yoga where everyone is getting strong and going hard and getting long and lean and stretched in that yoga body. That's actually not really what yoga is about. And there's a whole nother aspect to it called restorative yoga or yin yoga or hatha yoga. There are different kinds of yoga that can give your body what it needs. And so if the typical asana yoga, which is those sequences of physical actions aren't working from you, then why don't you try something else? And it was that session that really opened me up to the idea that yoga was actually much bigger than I thought it was. And as I learned more on my own, I realized I want to learn more professionally. I want to know about all of these different aspects of yoga that I didn't know about. I want to know how to change my practice to support my body rather than the other way around. And so that's what led me ultimately to my own yoga teacher training, which woohoo, I finished. If you follow me on Substack, you know that I have finished that. So I am very excited and I am very proud of myself. And I have no idea what I will do with that teacher certification if I will be brave enough to actually get in front of other people in public and teach yoga. But I do know that that training gave me the opportunity to bring the things I love together. Right. One of the things they tell you in yoga teaching, teacher training, and really in yoga is to just find what works for you. Yoga with Adrienne's motto is find what feels good, right? How can yoga fit into your life to help you? And as I was learning, I thought, oh my gosh, there are just so many connections between yoga and reading and writing. And it was that one piece of research that I have said on this podcast before that sent me down the rabbit hole, which is 30 minutes of sustained reading has the same effect on your parasympathetic nervous system as 30 minutes of yoga. I wanted to know why that was the case. I wanted to know how that happened. Right. And obviously may not get the muscle benefits, but you do get the benefits on your nervous system. And so I thought, well, hold up a second. If I know the benefits of reading and I know the benefits of writing and I know the benefits of yoga, what happens if we layer them together? What happens when we stack them together or we combine them in ways to really bring new levels of wellness to our life? And that's what today's episode is about. I want to bring you a snippet of my research and a little sneak peek into what I've been exploring in my own reading, writing, yoga practice in hopes that it helps you. So, first, let's start out with the benefits. And yes, I have talked about the benefits of reading and writing before here on the podcast, but it is always worth mentioning again because the more we remember that engaging in the act of reading and writing is literally good for our health, the more permission we give ourselves to do it often. So remember, by reading just 6 minutes a day, but ideally going up to 30 minutes, at least reading in multiple 30-minute chunks as often as we can, lots of wonderful things happen. Physically, our heart rate slows down, our muscles relax. Over time, that can support our sleep and even lower our stress level because of that change in our physical nature by up to 68%. And when done consistently over time, could actually lengthen your life by 2 years because of that effect on our physical body. Now, cognitively, we know that reading can boost our vocabulary, it can boost our knowledge, it can improve our memory, strengthen all those brain synapses, but it also boosts problem solving. It supports creativity, and when done over time, even prevents age related cognitive decline. And emotionally, it alleviates depression. Research shows it boosts happiness. One of the most exciting things, it increases our ability to emphasize. Oh, to empathize is what I was trying to say. And it is an activator of our parasympathetic nervous system, which means it calms us down. That's just reading. When we take a look at the effects of writing, and writing just in 15 to 20-minute blocks, 3 to 4 times a month, we get another whole set of benefits. Lowered blood pressure, better sleep, especially if we write at night. And we even have improved liver function and improved immune function. Cognitively, it keeps our memory sharp, especially if we are writing by hand, and it helps us retain that knowledge in our memory over time. Emotionally, we know writing strengthens our emotional health. It can boost our mood, especially if we are focused on gratitude practice, and it can even help our anxiety decrease. It can help us reduce stress, and it can even help us cope with depression. 6 minutes to 30 minutes of reading, a handful of writing sessions over the month, and we can start to get these benefits. Now, when you look at the benefits of yoga, there are many similar benefits in terms of our nervous system, in terms of our emotional wellness, but of course, there are a few more in terms of our physical body. A regular yoga practice, whatever yoga looks like for you, it can lead to better flexibility, posture, even cardiovascular health. It can build our strength, protect our joints, give us pain relief, improve balance and strength. Mentally, cognitively, emotionally, we know that it can improve our concentration, improve our coordination, boost our self esteem, boost our mood and mental health, decrease depression, boosting our immunity, focusing on our breathing, which then has a whole nother host of benefits. So you see where I'm going here. I knew what reading and writing could do. I was experiencing firsthand what yoga was doing, and I thought, okay, it is time to blend these together. And that's originally where the idea for a restorative reading and writing practice came from. This idea of reading and writing in ways that are good to our health combined with aspects of restorative yoga to really give us a bang for our buck, so to speak, in terms of wellness. So we know all three of those things are so important. How do we bring them together? And so I want to share with you 3 ways that I have been integrating reading, writing, and yoga into my own life, from things that are quite easy to do to things that take a little bit more time and flexibility, I would add, in hopes that one of these intrigues you and you bring one of these into your daily practice to elevate your health and wellness too. So, up first is the idea of doing yoga to physically prepare your body for reading and writing and doing more of it. Right? So, if we think of a typical reading posture, a typical writing posture, we're sitting, we're hunched over. Our shoulders might be scrunched in concentration. We might be curled up in a couch. We might be holding our book or our notebook and our pencil and our coffee cup. And so our neck is at a really weird angle as we're trying to get comfortable. The practice of reading and writing is not really a practice that's done in these long, lean, lengthened positions. They are done in relaxed, curled up, comfy, safe, cocoon-like positions. And so yoga can help us open up our physical body so that we can actually stay in those positions longer and be comfortable without our knees hurting because they're curled up on the couch, without our neck being strained because we're looking at our book at a weird angle. Right. And for me, without my hands or my wrist hurting because I'm actually holding a physical book. So, starting a yoga practice, whether that's a couple of minutes a day, whether that's longer practices, 2 to 3 days a week, whatever that looks like for you, it can help make our physical body feel better so that we can do the reading and writing we love. So, particular yoga moves that open up the chest, and help you stretch out those tight shoulders. Moves that help you lengthen the neck, perhaps stretch from side to side or rotate it. Moves that get your shoulders moving, your shoulders up and back. Moves, especially that help with spinal flexion, like a cat cow or sitting crisscross applesauce and moving your spine in multiple ways to kind of lubricate those joints that might be hunched up when you are reading. Right? If we do poses like that, and I don't mean that you have to get super serious and do an hour yoga session. It could be a 10-minute yoga practice to get those areas of your body from the waist up, so to speak, ready to sit and read. That can make a huge difference in your comfort level. And that comfort level enables you to do more reading and writing. Now, if you're looking for someone to have as a mentor for a yoga practice, right? So that it supports the reading and writing you do at a separate time. I've already mentioned Yoga with Adriene, and I cannot talk about her enough. She was my introduction to yoga. She is still my yoga mentor. I have loved every single video that she has put on YouTube and inside her membership. I also love Helen at the Floating Yoga School. This is another YouTube channel with different flows than Adriene does, with a lot of heart openers, chest openers, twists, stretches. I always feel so darn good when I am done with one of her half-hour or 45-minute sessions. I feel longer and leaner and more open. And I definitely feel like I could sit in my chair for longer with my notebook or my book. Now, who knows? I'm hoping to get enough courage up to create a yoga for readers and writers video for my community. So send me some good wishes and send me some confidence to put on yoga pants and get in front of a camera, because I would love to do that inside of either my Patreon or my Grow a Restorative Reading course. So stay tuned for that. But that's one way that we can layer reading and writing and yoga together, which is to do yoga so that we can do more reading and writing. Now, the second way I want to talk about is to actually combine reading and writing with yoga in micro yoga sessions. Micro yoga sessions. So these are micro yoga sessions or micro poses that we would do immediately before reading and writing to help us feel good and stretch out our body and act as a signal to our nervous system that we are going to relax. Now, I could go technical here and I could explain to you the theory and the background behind micro yoga and the philosophy it came from. But all I want you to know is that micro yoga is doing subtle yoga poses in really small doses to help your body feel better in the moment. Right? So think about when your neck hurts and you just intuitively stretch it or reach your hands above your head and stretch it out. Right? Those little tiny yoga poses that you only do for 30 seconds, those can help. It stretches the body, it shifts the energy, it gives fluid to your joints, and it wakes up your mind so that you can have that focus and concentration on the reading and writing. So you might just do 1 or 2 stretches, or you might do a whole set of 15 to 30-minute stretches, moving through the sequence of your body, right? So things like neck stretches, shoulder shrugs, shoulder circles, opening and closing your fingers wide and shutting them and rolling your wrists. Before you sit down to read or write, you stand up and you give a big giant stretch and you stretch side to side. And maybe you stand tall and you pull one knee up into your chest and you squeeze, and you pull the other one and you squeeze. And then maybe you do a nice big forward fold with your legs straight or bent if they need to, and you hang there for a minute and you just let everything go loose. Doesn't that just feel good talking about it? These are gentle, short, non-stressful practices. You're not trying to get into a certain pose. You're just giving your body a couple of minutes to lengthen and strengthen. One of my favorite things I love to do often that would be considered micro yoga is yoga for my eyes. So there are certain pressure points and certain stretches that we can do to bring more oxygen to the eyes to help with eye strain. And if we're reading and writing a lot, that is probably us. So I like to do a couple of those before I read and write so that my eyes are prepared. And then I may do one after so that I can decrease any strain that perhaps I have. I also love shaking. Shaking is this practice where it sounds like exactly what it is. You just stand up and you start to shake. You shake out your hands and your wrists and bounce your shoulders and move your hips and bounce your knees. You do that for about 3 minutes. And I know it seems weird, but it does shift the energy. It does shift the stiffness and the fluid that might be built up or not enough in certain joints. And it's shocking how much that can help. And so I love doing this because it's just a couple of minutes of whatever stretches my body feels like it wants. And then it helps me move into the reading and writing physically feeling good. I am exploring this area a lot of how these micro yoga poses can help. And so if you are already inside my Grow a Restorative Reading Practice course, stay tuned. Some new videos, new mini videos are coming of the ones that would be best for readers and writers. And now finally, the third. This is the one that takes a little bit more time, a little bit more intention, but can still be wonderful. And it's something that I am experimenting in the classes that I am starting to offer. And that is to combine your reading, writing, and yoga in themed restorative sessions. So in option one, it was doing yoga so that you could engage in reading and writing longer. In option two, it was doing yoga right before reading and writing to act as that trigger to your nervous system and help you focus as well as get your physical body ready. And now in the third section, we are combining all of those things together and we are theming our reading, writing, and yoga practice. I have to admit, this is one of my favorite things to learn about in my yoga teacher training, and that is how do you sequence classes? You know, I am all about designing experiences. I love it. And I had so much fun just learning how to sequence a yoga class to be as effective and enjoyable and as restorative as it could be. But I also love sequencing them because it's not just about sequencing the physical poses. That is important. But when you layer on the mental feelings that you want those poses to cultivate, and the themes of the class that could integrate all of those things together, that is what I loved. That is what I loved. And I thought, this is what I do. Every month I pick a one-word theme. And every month I create a book calendar with one book recommendation for every day of the month that embraces that theme. And I create notebook prompts and I write about that theme. And I really try to bring that theme to life in my reading and writing to make my actual life feel better. Why not bring my yoga practices that I am choosing to do in the same way? And so I have come up with a little sequence that I have added to my morning routine, my magical morning routine. If you listen to an earlier episode, where I start off with a little bit of reading and an intention for the morning. I might read a poem or a chapter of Kokoro or a chapter of Soul Shift, whatever I might be reading. I set that intention, which is often my one word theme, and I try to bring it to mind. And then I do yoga practices and yoga poses that I know or that I think will help me embrace that theme even more, right? So if I want to cultivate gratitude, then I do lots of heart openers and lots of yoga poses that help me open up areas that are tight, hip openers, shoulder openers, right? If I want to be more grounded and settled and calm, then I'll do yoga that's a little bit closer to the mat and I'll strengthen my legs more and focus on rooting into the ground and moving from the floor up. Right now that I know that I can bring these themes to life with certain yoga poses, I am off and running in the morning. And then after yoga comes the writing. So I basically just inserted yoga in between the reading and writing that I have already done. And I've loved it because I feel like I'm really embracing those ideas and I'm marinating on them while I'm in the poses. And I feel like the writing I do is better. And in terms of better, I don't mean mechanically better or conventionally better. I mean more honest and authentic and meaningful and personal. And I feel like what ends up on the page is really important and helps me get some of those breakthroughs that I look for to make my days feel better. This has been a really fun thing to experiment with. And I'm really happy and excited and, yes, a little bit nervous to share that I am actually partnering with a, a hot yoga place near me, and we are doing what's called restorative reading, writing, and yoga sessions. It is a 4-week session where we will meet every Sunday and we will read and do yoga and write together in that order around a particular theme that feels good for the participants and is timed with the calendar aspect of the year. Now, I am not hot yoga certified, so I am teaming up with a hot yoga instructor, and we are working together to identify the themes, what we want to embrace. And she's going to lead the yoga, and I'm going to lead the reading and writing. So it's like baby steps into teaching yoga classes. And then in November, I will be offering free yoga sessions to yoga for caregivers, caregivers who particularly are caring for children who have eating disorders or are in recovery for eating disorders, who are caring for parents, who are caring for anyone and need to help their mental health so that they can show up better. That is my first foray into actual yoga teaching. And those are virtual and online and free in an effort to give back all of those who helped me on a caregiving journey. So if you want to know more about that, be sure to join my email list. You can go to alitlife.com and join it from there, or you can find me on Substack, and I will make sure to put some updates to those upcoming yoga sessions in person if you are local, or virtually if you would like to hop into those themed restorative reading, writing, yoga classes. So that's what I've been thinking about. 3 ways that I can integrate yoga into my reading and writing practice. It's lighting me up from the inside of how I can bring them together for my one word monthly themes that I love so much. And I would love to know, of course, what do you think? Which one of these is speaking to you? Which one would you want to try? I would love to know. You can find me at alitlife.com and leave comments in the show notes. You can find me on social media at AfinitoLit, and you can comment on the post for this episode or send me a direct message. And as always, you can find me inside your podcast platform by clicking on that audio link and leaving me a message. Now, I've got one last thing to share. It's a little bonus move, if you will, a bonus challenge. One of the fun things I have seen in my research into yoga and reading is the fact that we can read while in yoga poses. So here's your bonus. I challenge you to not read in your typical scrunched up position in your favorite chair and instead try reading on your mat, right? Maybe you read in child's pose where you are on your knees, nice and relaxed, fold over, and your book is in front of you. Maybe you read in cobbler's pose, which is when you sit crisscross applesauce, but instead of crossing your legs, you pull your feet together to touch to get a nice hip stretch. Or maybe you do the one that's my favorite and you get on the mat and you stretch your legs out in a wide open position, like you are trying to do a split and you just go as far as you can. And then you lean over and you rest your arms on the floor or a block and you put your book in front of you and you read that way. Bonus points if you try integrating reading, writing, and yoga that way. I will be doing that because, of course, I'm giving it a try. And I will be reading Yoga Life. If you want to learn more about a yoga lifestyle, I highly recommend this book. It's called Yoga Life: Habits, Poses, and Breath Work to Channel Joy Amidst the Chaos. It's by Brett Larkin, who has another wonderful yoga YouTube channel that you might like to check out as well. All right, that's it for me in this episode. If you want to keep exploring more about this topic, you want to grow your own restorative reading, writing, and yoga practice, then join me. Join me inside my Grow a Restorative Reading Practice course. I am in the middle of revamping it as we speak, and there will be more videos inside for those of you that want to integrate a yoga practice with your reading and writing, or who just want to know more and explore how all of these things together can maximize their benefits. So, elitlife.com, click on Learn with Stephanie, and you'll be able to get that link and you can learn more. I can't wait to reveal the newest update to those this fall, just in time for a cozy reading and writing season. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Get Literate podcast, everyone, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Get Literate podcast. You'll find links to all the books, resources, and ideas mentioned in the show notes and at elitlife.com. And if you want more, you might like to join my Patreon community. There, you'll find additional inspiration for your reading and writing life, like bonus podcast episodes, book calendars, monthly book clubs, notebooking inspiration, live events, giveaways, and more. It's only $5 a month, and you get instant access to all of the previous content too. Learn more at getliterate.co. And one more thing, if you love what you listened to today, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast, or take a screenshot of the episode and text it to a friend. This helps the podcast grow, and it builds our bookish and notebookish community too. Thanks for listening.